You're tuned to Planet Vero Radio. I am Cindy Schwartz, and this is the Patient Partners Show. We are also podcast on Spreaker, and on Talk Radio, we are broadcast on 101.7 FM Real Radio WCZR. Jeannie Roll is with me today. We are talking about this case that is in the news, and it is about an Eastlake Middle School student, and Eastlake Middle School is in Ohio, being strip searched for supposedly having a vape pipe, whatever you want to call it, a vaping apparatus. And it's gone to, as it rightfully should go to, the legal channels because they are arguing that her civil rights have been violated. Jeannie Roller and I want to pipe in there and say, so have many civil rights been violated for medical patients when we have signed a consent form, as this middle school student did sign a consent form. Do you really know what you're signing unless, I did say in certain instances I should have had my own lawyer there reading the paper for me and, trying to digest it for me. Why is it against civil rights in certain cases and not against civil rights in other cases? And yes, this is a minor. The child is a minor in the middle school school district. But does that really take away from adults that are not legally informed about what they are actually signing? Do you need a lawyer to sign your informed consent paperwork for surgery, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Jeannie Rolla, go ahead.
Well, yes, I think you probably do. This girl consented to the search, but I don't really think that she realized what it was. And I don't think that a middle school girl is old enough to give consent for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. Cindy, we've talked about this before. She will have a long time to get over this. Well, I kind of disagree. She will have a lifetime of probably never getting over this.
Yeah.
Because it's not something, sexual violations are not something most people can get over.
Mm-hmm.
It is always there. It can rear its head at different times, but I don't really believe you ever get over that. This attorney also said something, and I'm going to read what he said. He added that it's important school officials understand that students don't check their rights when they walk in the doors of a school. Just because we go to school as a student doesn't mean we have our constitutional rights, and it's so important for these individuals to be trained and understand those rights and know what they can do under the law and what not permissible. That is what this attorney said. Why doesn't this also apply to medical patients?
Mm-hmm.
That's the question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we lose all of our rights once we walk into a hospital's doors? No, I don't think we should, but we are, because informed consent is only what they feel like we need to be informed about. We aren't informed about things that they feel we don't need to know.
Well, right. Go ahead. Well, can we say that? I want to say it to, in your opinion, Jeannie, that's what you're saying, but I want to say they're informing us to certain parts of it and not the whole part, because we can say that because we know the whole part when we got to the end of the surgery. So then we say to ourselves, why wasn't I told about this A, B, Q, D, and W, but I only had B, C, and X? And the other thing is I want to give a quick background. I think you have the article there in front of you. The girl was a female. The student was a female, the middle school student. I don't remember reading in the article that it was female people that were working with her in this strip search. I want to hope that that's true. And that she was left naked from the waist up at one point for a long duration. Can you kind of tell, my opinion, if you have a vaping pipe hidden in your bra? If you're a middle school student without even taking that, the underwear off? There's a lot of factors here. And good for that lawyer saying that. You do not, we've said it so many times, leave your civil rights at the door when you go into these situations, and certainly not in the medical community. I'm sorry that you don't either. I agree with you, Jeannie.
Well, the strip search was done by a female.
Okay.
The girl was left naked in a room while this nurse's aide went out of the room and came back in with a flashlight to look in the girl's eyes with a UV light of some sort. I mean, can you imagine
No.
what that poor girl was suffering, being left standing there in the nude, and the woman who searched her walking out of the room, then coming back into the room? Can you imagine?
No, it's horror. That is horror for any person, and certainly somebody in a middle school atmosphere. It's horror.
Yes. And I wanted to add one thing to what you said, that, we know after the procedure what happened. That's not always true, because some people don't ever know that they've been exposed unnecessarily. They don't know that there's been a catheter put in them. Some people never know that. So even after the procedure, many people don't know really what happened.
Well, right. Okay, technically you're absolutely right. I'm talking about if you read your medical records and a lot of the stuff is on there. We found a lot of the stuff isn't on there, or it's skewed or whatever. But I'm saying just as a general kind of atmosphere, okay, I was told these 3 things. Well, what about the other 5 things? I didn't know I had a right to refuse blood. I didn't know I had a right to refuse a urinary catheterization for, a half-hour surgery. I mean, these are all questions that you would want to ask, wouldn't you? I mean, I do. I ask the questions now because I know. And it's not to be a pain in the neck patient. It's because, I know my body and I know my mind and I know what I can tolerate and what I can't.
Right.
And if the surgeon is not open for that specific thing, and it's not like I can hear people saying, oh, well, you don't get to do this, you don't get to do that. I get that. But I know what I can tolerate. And there are other doctors available
and
that
sometimes
do
it's
things.
not always the surgeon making these rules.
Correct. Right. Correct. That is true. There are other doctors and other facilities that do things differently. And so you could go there.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I think a lot of this stuff, in my opinion, is done for profit, because they know that all this makes more money. If there's a catheter put in, that's more money on the bottom line. Whether or not you need it is not the issue for them. It's how much money can they get. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I don't think you're wrong about that. Try to figure out your medical bill. Let's have a laugh about that. Was that surgery really $275,000? Was that aspirin really $7.80 for one pill? We've all laughed about that in so many instances, certainly on, talk shows, on sitcoms and whatever. But, right, when do we get the full disclosure, if you will, and as some legal cases have been fought, specifically in the Paxil Prozac arena, as being considered consumer fraud because certain side effects weren't divulged. And that's to the doctors, too. It's not just to the patients. The doctors are, I don't know how they do it some days either. I really don't, of what they have to surmount to even get care going. You got time limits. How many, we laugh about that now. Well, how many minutes did you get with your doctor? 4.5 minutes? Come on. Seriously, that's not good care.
Well, getting back to this lawsuit, the lawsuit claims emotional distress, that the girl's rights were violated, and that the school didn't train employees properly how to handle the situation. Can we not also transfer that, Cindy, to many medical situations?
Absolutely.
So then, why don't we as patients see this kind of lawsuit taking place? Why are we turned away anytime we have a complaint about something like that happening to a patient?
Well, that's the $65 billion question. My price tag. So we keep talking about it until we get to somebody, and, who knows how it's going to happen. It'll happen. I know it will. I have full faith it will. Till we get to somebody that's going to answer the questions and say, this is poor care. On a closing note, recently they had the nurses strike in New York City. I applauded the nurses for saying, we are not going to give poor care to patients any longer. Admin, figure this out. And some of it's money and some of it isn't. Some of these nurses, they care about their patients. They do, and I applaud them. You've been listening to Planet Vero Radio. Please stay tuned.